Oh, bless my ass. Even the dadgum Wilson was a drunkard. Man, that's some good whiskey.
If you look here, his face is dissolved in some kind of acid. Clearly can't be a bullet wound.
So what? You think he was hit?
I don't think so. It looks pretty small in size. Pretty young.
Yeah. I think could be the one in the papers. What do you think? Distinct possibility. You know what comes now, don't you?
The only part of a criminal investigation I don't like.
Try to show some sympathy, would you?
That didn't go over well.
How'd you think of it? You think that the mother would be excited to hear that her son was dead?
I suppose not. I guess now that that's over, we can begin the real investigation, real work.
I suppose we can.
Gosh, I wish we could investigate a different case. I mean, so what if some kid gets murdered?
And what kind of cases do you want to investigate?
I don't know, I'd rather be fighting crime syndicates, making a real difference.
You know we can't, Shaw. It's Al Capone's money what put food on the table.
You can't prove that, though.
You know why Rich don't give us the cases you want? It's because the police force's pockets are stuffed with this money.
Even if you're right. I mean, this is the perfect crime. The crime of the century. There's no evidence whatsoever. Killers aren't just going to turn themselves in. What are we looking for here?
I don't know, Shaw. But what I do know is that we can't give up now. We owe it to the boy's mother to investigate this and put the killers to justice.
I suppose so. Doesn't mean I have to like it.
If I were to murder anybody, it would be Bobby Franks, that little cocky son of a...
Excuse me, sir. Are you Loeb?
Who wants to know?
I'm Lieutenant Falk. I'm with the Chicago Police Department. I'm helping to investigate the murder of Bobby Franks. I understand you knew Bobby Franks.
He was my cousin. You see, he insisted on playing tennis all the time. Little Burger lived right across the street.
You see, now, that's funny. If I had a tennis partner living right across the street, I'd want to play with him all the time. I'd be thankful. But that's just me, I guess. I mean, how can you even afford having something like that in your own backyard? I mean, my wife, you see, she wanted to play tennis, but we couldn't even afford the racket.
My father was a lawyer and vice president of Sears and Roebuck.
That makes sense. He hit it big, and now you're living the good life. That's understandable. I see you got a book there. Anything good? My nephew's always looking for something to read.
Murder on the Links. It's a detective story.
You see, that's something I could never get into. I can never figure out the endings to those things.
Well, I suppose I'm a little bit at an advantage. You see, I'm a top graduate of the University of Michigan. Now, what do you want, Lieutenant?
No. I just wanted to meet you is all. I'll get out of your hair now. Oh, just one more thing. I almost forgot. Do you know where I can find a Mr. Leopold?
Got an exam coming up?
I beg your pardon?
I asked if you had an exam coming up. I mean, I don't know many people who study the law for pleasure.
Oh, no, I haven't any exams coming up. I just completed my undergraduate's degree currently. I'm preparing.
What for?
For Harvard. Say, can I help you?
Let's hope not.
Then why bother me?
I was hoping you could tell me that. I'm Detective Shaw. I was informed that you were friends of Richard Loeb.
He's in trouble with the law, I take it?
Why do you think that? Do you know something I don't?
Sir, if this is how you interrogate criminal suspects, I suggest choosing a different career.
Hold on now. I never said that you were a suspect. This isn't an interrogation. I just want to ask a few questions.
Then stop beating around the bush and ask them.
Did you know Bobby Franks?
I've had the displeasure of meeting him. Are you suggesting I killed him? Don't get me wrong. I would love to, but I see someone got to it before I could.
It's insensitive to joke about a man's death, you know.
You must not know Bobby Franks.
You seem to have something against him. You see, in my world, we call that motive.
I suppose you would. But I don't suppose you would call whatever's in that flask of yours, illegal, would you?
Excuse me?
Oh, you know full well what I'm referring to. You're all hypocrites. You waltz around flashing those shiny badges of yours, convincing men, convicting men of the same crimes you indulge in yourselves. You're no better than criminals, you know.
Never mind the flask. An educated man such as yourself should understand there's a difference between buying bootleg alcohol and murder.
So you are accusing me of murder. Some detective you are.
I'm not. I'm merely...
Don't you dare finish that sentence. You told me you had a few questions, and here you are accusing me of murder. Don't insult my intelligence. What do you want, an alibi? I can name several. You would strap me to one of your little lie detector tests, and you'll find I'm telling the truth. I'm happy to provide any information you want, but I will not tolerate further disrespect.
You seem a bit high-strung, Mr. Leopold.
And you seem more than a bit unprofessional. What precinct do you work for? If you don't leave within the next 30 seconds, I will be calling a serious complaint.
There's no need, Mr. Leopold. I'll let you get back to your preparations. There's a better time.
How about this? If you want me to answer your questions, prepare some. I'll write them myself. But if you show up again unprepared, I will be calling my father. He has connections with men in power.
Is that a threat?
Consider it a promise.
Why are we here? We already examined every inch of this crime scene. What are you looking for?
There's always something.
I don't think there is. We've covered this scene already. We spent hours here. What are you possibly hoping to find?
Something. Anything at all. Gotta have something behind, a footprint maybe, or something fell out of his pocket. Something overlooked, covered by leaves. There's gotta be something here. Wallet. Perhaps change. Or glasses.
No, that'd be too obvious. A killer would never leave his glasses.
Not seeing glasses, you see. Reading glasses, you know.
I'm telling you, we're not gonna find them.
You don't think about them till you need them. Here they are. Killer, he came down here. He's moving the body, you know? Just look at his coat pocket. Steps on uncovered with leaves, be able to look them. This is the smoking gun. This is how we get him shot.
You gotta be kidding me.
Floyd's optometry. That's where we get him. I'll speak to this Floyd.
Well, you two gentlemen are in dire need of eyewear, I see.
What makes you say that, ma'am?
Well, you clearly couldn't read the closed sign. We open at 8.
We don't mean you any trouble, ma'am, but we're conducting a criminal investigation. We just want to ask a few questions, if that's all right.
I suppose I don't have a choice then, do I?
Miss, let me put it this way. A 14-year-old boy was bludgeoned to death recently, and we think that you might be able to help us find the killer. Now, of course you have a choice, but do you really want a killer to run free on the loose?
Oh, I didn't realize it was that serious. Was the murder around here? And you think that I might be able to help you find the killer?
If it's not too much trouble, man, we'd just like you to take a look at a pair of glasses for us, see if you can tell us anything at all.
Let me see those glasses.
Oh, man.
This will be easier than I thought. These are a rare make. Only few are sold. Let's see, who do you belong to? There are only 3 names. Robert Crane, Owen Nichols, and Nathaniel Leopold.
I'm kidding.
Have you prepared questions this time?
No, we don't have any questions. We just came to give you these.
Why, thank you. I've been looking for them everywhere.
Would you like to know where they were found?
You're going to tell me that they were found near the body of Bobby Franks, aren't you?
You would be correct.
Now, if you have a lick of sense in you, your next question would be something along the lines of why my glasses were there. Well, I'll spare you the trouble. I was on a bird watching trip last weekend. I probably just dropped them out of my pocket.
Or perhaps they slipped off your face while you were stuffing Bobby Franks in that culvert.
Gentlemen, I think we're done here. You have no evidence to support what you're saying. I'm going to leave now.
Leopold, we'll start with you. Where were you the night of Bobby Franks' murder?
Well, that depends. Where was little Frankie killed?
So that's the game we're playing. Bobby Franks, as I imagine you know, was murdered on the 21st.
The 21st. That would put us...
I believe we asked Mr. Leopold the question. We'll get to you in a second, Mr. Loeb.
On the 21st, we were in Chicago.
What were you doing in Chicago?
Picking up 2 friends.
What were the names of these friends?
You see, we didn't catch their names. They weren't that kind of friends.
Whose car did you drive?
My car.
When did you return home?
It was around 3 in the morning, 4 at the latest.
How sure of this are you?
Don't insult me, detective. I suppose you might be liable to forgetting, but a mind like my own, never. I distinctly remember the hour hand on my wristwatch being within the first quarter.
Now for you, Loeb. Anything to add?
I don't believe that Nate mentioned our time of departure. In case you want to know, we left around 6 in the evening, shortly before sunset.
So you had the whole rest of the day to commit the murder?
If I wanted to commit a murder, detective, I assure you, it wouldn't be in broad daylight.
That doesn't answer the question.
Yes, detective. In theory, we would have committed the murder between waking up and leaving for Chicago.
Well, gentlemen, this concludes our questioning. We'll be in contact with you shortly. I hope for your sake that everything turns out fine.
Don't worry, detective.
Actually, just one more thing. Don't get out of your hair. I almost forgot about it. You don't drive, do you?
No, I don't.
So it was your chauffeur who drove you to Chicago then?
Naturally.
Well, then we'll go talk to your chauffeur and clear up your name up. You wouldn't have any problem with that, would you?
No problem at all, detective. In fact, I can call...
It's alright, we'll save you the trouble. We'll just call him and we'll be right back.
You can't do that. You can't take away our rights.
Well, hardly. There's a killer on you. It's for your own protection.
Is this Mr. Leckie?
Yeah? Why? Who are you?
I'm Detective Shaw. This is Lieutenant Falk, and we're with the police. We were informed that you're Nathan Leopold's chauffeur. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. What? Is he in trouble or something?
Oh, that depends on how you answer our questions. You see, do you remember driving Mr. Leopold and Mr. Loeb on the 21st?
Well, we didn't go anywhere. I mean, in fact, the car was in the garage. I had to repair it. It wasn't working.
So are you saying that you did not, in fact, drive them to Chicago?
Exactly, I didn't. Again, it's right. I had to repair it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lick. You've been most helpful. We'll get out of your hair now. We don't have any more questions.
Bye. Have a good day.
Well, Falk, it seems we caught ourselves a killer.
As a wise man once said, it's confession time.
You were about to be tried for the murder of Bobby Frank. If you cooperate and give us the full story, then you'd be spared the death penalty. Do you understand?
Yes.
Oh, great. Now, for May 21st, what happened?
Well, it actually started while before the 21st. We had been planning this for a long time. It all started when we were reading a little bit of Nietzsche.
Our professor had cautioned against Nietzsche, but we felt that understanding different philosophies, even those with which we disagree, of course, was a fundamental aspect of our education.
However, we progressed. We started to understand why a professor was so weary of his writings.
It was because Nietzsche was right about everything.
And this scared our professor for some reason.
You see, he was a man who strongly believed in morals. Indeed, he was blinded by them, restricted by them.
And Nietzsche was preaching against morals.
I'll admit, I was skeptical at the beginning, but the more we read, the more sense it made. Morality, we soon started to see, imposes on one's free will in return for a false sense of dignity.
The further we studied his writing, the more free we felt. It was as if a burden had been lifted, a weight removed from our shoulders.
We were of too high intellect to be bound by the self-imposed chains of morality.
All our lives, we had been restrained from testing the true extent of our intellect, but now we had the key.
Nietzsche unlocked the door for us, and that was when we started to discuss how to commit the perfect crimes. It's important you understand that we have nothing against Bobby Franks. He was an annoying little runt, but we hadn't any vendettas against him.
No, we merely needed him, a subject for a crime, a means by which the peak of our intellect may be reached.
We thought about a robbery, but that was too easy. I assume you'd reviewed our criminal profiles.
And then we thought, what is one crime that nobody ever gets away with?
Murder. So, very few murders ever escape the law. And we came to realize that this was because most murderers were idiots. I'm talking about men who merely want to satisfy some strange lust.
Men who thirst for blood, and this acts as some sort of tunnel vision. They're so narrow-minded. That's why they never get away with it.
But we didn't want to kill for pleasure. No, we wanted the intellectual thrill, if you will.
I mean, how fun is that be? To murder someone and get away with it?
The thought excited us. We couldn't stop thinking about it.
And so we planned the perfect crime. Right then, right there.
Flash forward a year and a half, it was time to act.
Tell me exactly what happened.
First, I rented a car under a different name.
Then we found Bobby walking home from school, and our plan was put into action.
I called out to him, telling him to get inside. He didn't want to come at first, but Loeb told him he wanted to discuss his little racket. And simple as that, Bobby Franks was in the car.
What happened after that?
So what about my old racket?
Well, I noticed your old one's worn down, and it seems to be hard to grip onto.
Yeah, but the new ones are just so pricey nowadays.
So do you want to play tennis tonight?
Why not? I don't got much else to do. But you won't be playing with your old racket. I got you a new one.
Oh, great!
You want to see it, Bobby? I got it right here for you. After that, we put him in the back and gagged him. And then we drove to Hammond with that little runt in the back. Once there, we pulled him out of the car and near the culvert. As we planned, we poured acid on his face to conceal his identity. And then we hid him. Then, to disguise the true nature of our crime, we wrote a ransom note. It was a good ransom note, too. I called the family and gave them instructions on how and where to deliver the money. Of course, Mr. Franks had to forget the directions I told him.
Then we burned our blood-stained clothes and destroyed the typewriter. We also washed the blood off the car. There was no evidence pointing back to us.
It was the perfect crime.
One you can only read in the books. One a criminal can only dream about. Or so it should have been.
Except you had to drop your glasses.
Indeed. You must admit, Detective, if it hadn't been for the moronic oversight of mine, it would have been the perfect crime. You know it.
All I know is that you, Nathan, are a sociopath, and you deserve nothing less than to rot in prison for the rest of your miserable, pathetic life. Now, just so I have this straight.
You were the one who struck Bobby.
No, I planned the crime, but Leopold was the one who carried it out.
I was the mastermind of this operation, but no, Loeb was the one who struck Bobby.
I see.
Nonetheless, both of you will be free. Thank you for coming down.
So, have you heard who's defending our killers?
No, who is?
Clarence Darrow.
Clarence Darrow. I can't believe it.
Son of a gun. He's defended 50 criminals over his few years as a lawyer. 50. All of them accused of some terrible crime. You know how many have gotten off the hook?
How many?
49. There's been exactly one who has faced life sentence. 1 out of 50, and that was his first trial.
He's got to be the greatest lawyer of our time. You know what I heard? I heard that there's this teacher down south. They planned the whole thing. He was going to teach evolution to his class, and then Scopes was his name. And Darrow was gonna try to get him off the hook. He was trying to change their nation as we know it, change the education system, make it so they can teach evolution in class. Now the trial hasn't happened yet, but can you imagine what he can do?
All that work for nothing. I mean,
may it please the court. This terrible crime was inherent in his organism, and it came from some ancestor. Is any blame attached because somebody took Nietzsche's philosophy seriously and fashioned his life upon it? It is hardly fair to hang a 19-year-old boy for the philosophy that was taught him at the university. We read of killing 100,000 men in a day. We read about it and we rejoiced in it. If it was the other fellows who were killed, we were fed on flesh and drank blood, even down to the prattling babe. I need not tell you how many upright, honorable young boys have come into this court charged with murder, some saved and some sent to their death. Boys who fought in this war and learned to place a cheap value on human life. You know it, and I know it. These boys were brought up in it. It'll take 50 years to wipe it out of the human heart, if ever. I know this, that after the Civil War in 1865, crimes of this sort increased marvelously.
No one needs to tell me that crime has no cause. It has as definite a cause as any other disease, and I know that out of the hatred and bitterness of the Cold War, crime increased as America had never seen before. I know that Europe is going through the same experience today. I know it has followed every war, and I know it has influenced these boys so that life was not the same to them as it would have been if the world had not been made red with blood. Your Honor knows that in this very court, crimes of violence has increased, growing out of the war. Not necessarily by those who fought, but by those that learned that blood was cheap, and human life was cheap, and if the state could take it lightly, why not the boy? Has the court any right to consider anything but these two boys? The state says that Your Honor has a right to consider the welfare of the community, as you have. If the welfare of the community would be benefited by taking these lives, well and good. I think it would work evil that no one could measure. Has Your Honor a right to consider the families of these defendants, I have been sorry, and I am sorry for the bereavement of Mr. and Mrs. Franks, for those broken ties that cannot be healed. All I can hope and wish is that some good may come from it all. But as compared with the families of Leopold and Loeb, the Franks are to be envied, and everyone knows it. Here is Leopold's father, and this boy was the pride of his life. He watched him, and he cared for him. He worked for him. The boy was brilliant and accomplished. He educated him, and he thought that fame and position awaited him, as it should have awaited. It is a hard thing for a father to see his life's hopes crumble into dust. And Loeb's the same. Here are the faithful uncle and brother who have watched here day by day, while Dickie's father and his mother are too ill to stand this terrific strain, and shall be waiting for a message which means more to them than it can mean to you or me. Shall these be taken into account in this general bereavement? The easy thing and the popular thing to do is hang my clients. I know it. Men and women who do not think will applaud. The cruel and thoughtless will approve. It will be easier today. But in Chicago, and reaching out over the length and breadth of the land, more and more fathers and mothers, the humane, the kind, and the hopeful, who are gaining an understanding and asking questions not only about these poor boys, but about their own, these will join in no acclaim at the death of my clients. These would ask that the shedding of blood be stopped, and that the normal feelings of man resume their sway. Your honor stands between the past and the future. You may hang these boys. You may hang them by the neck until they're dead. But in doing so, you will turn your face toward the past. In doing it, you are making it harder for every other boy who in ignorance and darkness must grope his way through the mazes in which only childhood knows. In doing it, you will make it harder for unborn children. You may save them and make it easier for every child that sometime may stand where these boys stand. You will make it easier for every human being with an aspiration and a vision and a hope and a faith. I am pleading for the future. I am pleading for a time when hatred and cruelty will not control the hearts of men, when we can learn by reason and judgment and understanding and faith that all life is worth saving, and that mercy is the highest attribute of man.